Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to take a look at a game by Evan Halbert and Ryan Mock called After the Empire. Now, what's this all about? I'm glad you asked. According to the lore of the game, the Age of Empires is over, which, given the amount of hours I put into Age of Empires 2, I would strongly disagree, but alas. Feudalism has returned, people are starting to build up their own little fiefdoms. Now there's squabbles and fights, and everything's jolly and great and angry-ridden until the Mongols. And anyway, an invading force begins to shower itself upon the land, and everyone has to prepare for this epic invasion independently. So the idea is you build your city, you arm your troops, you upgrade your defenses, and you defend your people. And that is basically the premise of the game. So let's quit the chatter and get to going on it. Okay, let's take a look at what's in every box of delicious After the Empire. You have the manual, which you can skip and scan to watch a how-to play video, at least if it actually existed at the time of this video. You have cards, various cards. You've got cards for attacking, for defending. You've got just the card back art. Just love it. It's like Sagrada in the front, party in the back. Various cards that do different things. You're going to get, each player's going to get a certain set of starting walls and gates and some tokens, some villages, and some workers. You know, standard stuff in a Euro game. Then each player gets a player board. This player board has punctuated holes or perforated holes where you're going to lay out your buildings, lay out your farms. It's got areas for storage and workers, etc., etc. You got this gorgeous map that gives you many different areas where you'll be placing your workers and accomplishing certain tasks as you prepare for the onslaught. Also, you get zillions of pieces of stone walls, stone gates, stone turrets, stone everything. You got some of these flames. You got these flame tokens. Flame on! Or filet mignon. And you get a lot of different tokens that you're going to collect for combat and war and defense, etc., etc. And resources. You're going to get a lot of resources too. You've got, these are indicative of armies and mercenaries and wood and grain and stone and iron and sort of markers, and of course the siege tokens. You'll get yourself some siege tokens. Little known fact, while everyone knows that St. Nicholas and his army never lost in battle, what they don't know is the reason is because he sieged you when you're sleeping. And that's it. That's what comes in the box of After the Empire. Let's get into a gameplay phase. Alright, let's have some fun, shall we? Now I've set the game up for a mock two-player affair. All the cards are in their place. All these cards are mingled up. This one, you have to spin these around because the orientation of these cards does matter, because that will tell you which way the invaders are attacking your special place. You have scout cards, refugee cards, they're splayed out, buildings, etc. This is the first part of the game before combat. There's always a lull and a storm, a lull and a storm. 7 rounds of lull and storm, pretty much. And what you do is, you begin, the first player who visited a castle, I believe, goes first, and I visited Castle Vania on my NES, so I guess I'm going to go first. I'll be blue. And what you do is you start off with 3 workers. Over the course of time, you're going to get 2 extra workers in different rounds, but for now, you have 3 actions. What are you doing and why are you doing it? In those 7 rounds, you are trying to obtain the most gold. Gold, gold, gold. Because there's gold in these here hills, and you're going to try to be the one with the most gold at the end of 7 rounds. Now, what's going to thwart you from that are that invaders are going to attack 7 straight rounds, and they're going to get stronger, and they're going to get stronger. And the other thing is you have to spend some gold to accomplish some things too. So you're weighing that trade-off here over the course of time. So you have these action spots. You can grab refugees, grab scouts, you can make some swaps, gold for resources, soldiers, you can get those. And that's kind of important because right now, we know from this one exposed card, as the rounds go by, you're going to get more and more forces coming in, and they're going to be face down. You're not going to know what they are, but you're going to know what the first one is. In the first round, it's kind of the baby round, you're just going to know there are hordemen coming in from this direction, from the east. I can spell from the east. In other words, when the attack happens, they're coming this way. Now, how do you know how powerful they are? Based on how much gold you have. The rich don't get richer when it comes to combat here. So right now, because we're at 6 and 7, we're going to have 3. At this point, we're going to have, unless I find ways to magically obtain gold, which I could, but I won't, I'm going to get 3 melee swordsmen, and I'm going to get 1 archer. So that's what I have to worry about. But that's not it. There's a wild card in play here. When it's time for combat, I'm also going to have to worry about whatever is behind door number 1 here in the siege department. So that there might add some monkey wrenches into the fray. Now, I start off with a full functioning set of walls, 3 walls and a gate. I place my gate this way. You get to choose. Life is jolly, and you get two knightsmen. Basically two. Yeah. There's a name for them, but yeah, they're knights. They're your friends. They stay with you. They're not mercenaries. So let's begin. I'm going to choose. And these cards too, I'll explain those later, but everybody starts with them and then you get more of them. Do I want to buy another card? I'd have to pay the cost. Do I want to use the traveling merchant? Do I want a scout card? Probably not right now. Everybody starts off with a scout card, which is kind of a secret objective. If you finish the game and you manage to meet the criteria, you're going to get extra gold. That can really matter. Scores are tight. Do I want a refugee? Well, this is nice. Gives me stone and makes me more powerful at the stone quarry. That's kind of cool. Costs me a food and 2 gold. Not going to help me in combat though. Then I could use the quarry. Simple matter of getting 3 stone. The wood mill, 5 wood. The mine, 2 ore. And I have personal options too. I can always use my granary here to beef up my farms. It's going to pay for because knights got to eat, and defend at least one of my farms from being razed. Then stockpile. This is where it gets interesting, but you're going to need more resources first. You start off with a 3 wood and a 2 iron and a 1 iron, and then you have 2 stone as well. And then the infirmary is where your soldiers can repair and heal in between battles if needed. All of that to say, let's get rolling. I'm going to start off with I'm going to do this. Blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I get a knight. I'll stick you there for now. Now red, on the other hand, decides I think I want to get really good at stone. I want to get stone. So here you go. Do that. Now it's going to cost 2 gold. And it's also going to cost a food. But what does this do? Immediately get 2 stone. Nice iconography. Kind of helps out. And from here on out, whenever I use the quarry, I get +1. Now look at that. I am really a resource hound. I've got the Oxcart Teamster. Everybody gets to start with 1 starter card like this. So now if I go to the quarry, not only do I get the 3 quarry, I get 2 more. So no need to quarry all over that. And then, yeah, I won't use the barracks yet. Don't need to use the barracks yet. All right, then we go back to my good friend Blue, which is me. And I am going to... You know what? What the heck? I'm going to go here and use the mercenary camp. I can pay 5 gold, that's substantial, to get 3 permanent knights, or 4 gold for 2, or 3 gold for 5 temporary mercenaries, or 2. In this case, I'm going to... if I commit to these knights, I'm going to have to commit to feed them, so I have to know that. But I like having them there. Let's just bite the bullet. We'll go down to 4. Look at that, tie game. And I get myself 3. There we go. I got a feeding problem if I don't watch out here in the next few rounds. All right, then we go to red. Red decides I'm going to do the quarry. I want to get not 3, not 4, but 5 stone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, look at that. I am, wow, stone cold. All right, and we go back to blue for the final choice. Does blue want Does it have anything it really desires and needs to do? It's got plenty. It feels good right now about its warriors, knights, that it can be able to handle whatever's coming at them. So right now, maybe it'll start looking into resources again. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's going to go here to the wood mill, and it's going to get five wood. 2, 3, 4, 5. So five wood. So it's stockpiling on the wood here. And it has these actions mean you can use them at any time. They don't require an action, you just use them. So it's going to get a spyglass and also one of these. Now these shield any farm from being razed by invaders. If you don't have a shield, your farms will be razed by whichever direction the invaders are coming in. Since we know that they're coming from the east, we're going to protect our eastern farmland. And finally, we're going to use a special thing called stockpile. Stockpile is sort of the recoup, reclaim, repair, rejuvenate kind of phase. Now here's where we can upgrade things. Now this is the beauty of it. You can look at the chart and you can see what it requires to build things. Now this is it. If you have wood, you can skip wood going to stone. That's kind of a nice thing. When upgrading from wood to stone, do not pay the wood cost. Since we still have our walls intact, we're going to go ahead and be able to do that. Now I have, check this out, 4 stone and another 4 stone. Look at that. So I could now upgrade 2 of my walls. I'm going to upgrade 2 of my walls. How do I do that? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to take this wall out, walls or gates, either one. In this case, I'm going to do the walls here, and I'm going to do the walls here. There you go. Look at that. Now, why would I do that? And the resources go back. This is a beautiful thing about this game, is that you don't have to exhaust resources a ton. When you lose resources from attacks, you still have them that you can use to bring back quickly, and that helps out a lot, especially when you're paying for stuff. You have to use the resources, but if you're damaged, you still get them back. And these suckers come back, and they come back fully filled. That's 5 hit points plus the wall itself. So I have done a good job of preparing myself for the invasion of the... There we go. Probably don't need to watch my fascinating foray into dropping cubes inside of a plastic mold, but here you go. Look at that. How terribly awful is that? Alright, so I have done that. Stockpile also would let me repair any of these cards. Sometimes cards will take damage. You're going to have to repair them. Yeah, no, there's things that makes sense for it to do. And that's it. I could also add a turret if I felt so inclined, because I have enough wood to do that. I really stockpiled the crap out of it. So, yeah. Anyway, we're not going to do that right now. Yes, we are. We're going to spend 3 wood, and we're going to add ourselves a turret for future reference. Look at that. And it also comes fully stocked with a hit point. There you go. We have now beefed ourselves up and prepare for the next thing, which is all of our actions are done. So now we're going to go to combat. War is upon us, whether we have it or not. Yes, it's time to fight. Now here's the thing. Combat in here is not a simplified affair. It's not, I check my dice, you check your dice, and see how the pips will fall. Combat is kind of a 7-layer dip of conquest, to be interestingly describing it. The first thing you do in combat, and we'll start here, is you place your troops where you think they're best going to go. You do this preemptively because you don't know all the information. You have imperfect information right now. Here we go. You'll notice that we have almost perfect information. Later rounds, when you don't know what these are, you kind of have to be pretty well-rounded, at least with your square cubes, in knowing what's going to happen and where. So just to simplify things, we're going to bring this down here so we can see it better. So obviously we're going to want to put our units here on the walls. There's no downside. These become archers. On the wall they're archers, on the ground they're melee folk. Alright, so there is a possibility that a siege card is going to change it up. So right now I know that I'm going to have at most 4, so maybe maybe I'll put one here or here, just in case that siege card puts some things in my path. Alright, now here we have an interesting thing. We didn't really focus on soldiers, but we did focus on walls. So right now, we're going to put this here and this here. This might have not been a good idea. Not at all. Alright, I should have got some mercenaries. Alright. So we've done that. We've placed them preemptively, and then we go to the next step, which is to reveal the invader cards left to right. We only have one. We know what's going to happen. We know that we've got this and this. This is the bulk of our strength. And again, the one thing you have to know is that if you're playing a 4-player game and these are oriented around the table, it could very well be that this could be a totally different direction. For example, if I'd switch this over 90 degrees to the left, then it wouldn't be coming here, it'd be coming in here. But for now, for simplicity, I'm leaving it this way. It'll all become clear to those who buy the game, and hopefully you all will. All right. Once again, we have a similar situation where we have, look at that. How mighty. All right. Then, again, we used this chart. If we'd been over 24, we'd have 7 of these suckers. So things get dicier as you get at more rich and laden. Now, we flip this card over. Again, order matters, and that's interesting. A catapult. Now, the catapult is interesting because it will surge units. Depending on the season, you're going to have your... Ouch. 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 All right. So, first thing we do when we reveal the siege card is resolve the siege effect. Now, the way the siege effect works is that it's going to hit for that many hits against your towers. Now, against your walls on that side. Now, there's an order it happens. Basically, wood walls get taken out, or the weakest wood wall, then the other side, then stone, then the wall itself. There's an order. In this case, it takes one hit, so ouch. So if that turret takes one more hit, it's gone, and we've lost the turret, which is stinky. All right, so then we do that, and then we don't have some of these have special abilities. This doesn't, so we don't have to worry about it, but we do need to place units. The leader, and the fact that we're both tied means both of us have to endure this, has to have an extra attack unit based on the season. Since it's season 1, we only have 1 unit, but it's a good thing that we might not have put all our chickens in one basket on that one. All right, and then we raise the farms. Now, here's the thing. So, in spaces, so, yep. So, we raise the farms. So this, we have a defense token, so we basically have spared ourselves from having to raise the farm. So those are not raised. Yay! These are raised, I believe, which means that they will not produce for us. Double check, but yeah. Darn it. Alright, we tried. But we saved this farm anyway. So, flip that back over. Why did I had these on their upgraded level. You can upgrade these farms, by the way, so they produce 2 food instead of 1. In this case, I didn't do that. Alright, so we've got that done. Now we move a number of troops up to the value of move tokens. I didn't take any move tokens, so I can't do this. This is where the move tokens become so valuable, when you have these eyeglasses, spyglasses. I see you. This is an opportunity. You can move one unit to another location. In other words, once you know all the information about the battle, move tokens help you have at least a small chance of adapting to that situation. In this case, I don't think we need to do anything because, yeah, I think we're going to be fine. So we're going to leave it like that and call it good. And that's the end of that particular phase. Now, once we've done that, we can go on to, we don't need to use the siege token because we've already resolved it. So I'm going to go ahead and not worry about that. So when that's done, we then start the actual combat rounds happening. And combat is very interesting because, as you can see in this chart, we've done the preparation, we've revealed the cards, resolved the sort of invaders and siege cards. Now it really begins. If it's time for combat, now that we've done the combat preparation stage, we're going to move right into archery. Archery is when all the people on your walls get to go against all the people outside the walls, and it is mighty. Mighty, it's splendiferous if you have enough archers. Anyway, combat is simultaneous in this. All these phases are simultaneous from here on out. That means that you don't get to do preemptive damage. You're all going to do damage at the same time, and the chips are going to fall where they may. First off, there is no archers here, so there's nothing going on. This archer is going to hit, or this turret always hits on both sides of the corners that touch it. So if there were units here, it would attack them. If there were invaders here, it would attack them. So it's going to shoot for 1 damage and knock this sucker out right away. Happy, happy, joy, joy. All right, here, on the other hand, this archer is going to fire and hit one of these. These 2 units are going to hit to knock out 2, and of course we're going to want to take the archer out. One of these goes into the infirmary. It can be repaired later. Note that it still eats your food, so instead of eating your food and using your bandages, you want to heal it as soon as you can most of the time. All right, so we have reduced our armies down to this essential place with the archery. Over here, on the other hand, we have this guy will shoot here and knock him out. And here, one of these units is going to shoot each other. And then these 3 are going to take this one out entirely. So we've done a mighty good thing. We did good. Back to the infirmary. All right. And then we go to the phase, after we've done all that, of moving. We can rearrange our units now. We might need to bring some off the walls down into the courtyard, for example, if we've had a wall that's been breached, and because units are going to be coming in. Any enemies that don't have a wall between them are going to come into the courtyard, and you have to get rid of them, or else you are sacked, and not in the fun Monty Python way. So anyway, right now we don't. So melee is, these guys are going to hit for 2. And they're going to take out 2 points of damage on my stone wall. Oh, what am I doing? And again, you don't lose your resources. They just get put back in the stock, in the resources area. So there you go. So there's that. There's that. Okay. And again, the archers have already done their work. They don't count in this phase. In the melee phase, they're way up on the wall. We could bring them down here, but there's no point right now. That's that. And then you check for sacking. If sacked, then those responsible will be sacked, and those responsible for the sacking will be sacked. So here we haven't done. If you get sacked, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. A lot of stuff's going to happen. You're going to have to go back, and it will tell you, like, if you get sacked at 41 gold, you're going to have to go all the way back to 25. Boo-hoo. Just keep that. If not, then you return to archery. This is going to keep going. There's going to be a resolution, and some dog is going to lose it. So here we go. I've got everybody gone. So I have succeeded. Yay! Success! Happy, happy, happy! Since I wasn't sacked, I have an opportunity to get a gold flag, a gold flag for this round, which also adds up to nice gold points. All right. In this case, though, not so good. So we're going to go back to the archery phase, and again, this is going to knock this guy out. So that's nice. So we've whittled it down. However, we don't have any, we can't hit him with turrets. We should have put a turret there. We didn't. I make a poor turret guide. All right, so then move again. Bonk, bonk. Actually, yeah. So that's gone. And then, again, we're going to go check from Lee. We're going to go back around to the archery stage. There you go. Finally, we've taken some damage, but we've eliminated our enemies, and we too are in the same boat. So now we get to look and go, okay, now that's basically the end of combat. It's more fluid once you get rolling than I'm explaining it here, because I'm trying to do 2 things at once, and I can't even do one thing awesome very well most of the time. But this is how it rolls with the combat flow. You got your archery, you got your siege coming in first, and then you got a bunch of rounds of archery shooting at each other, and then if that doesn't work, you have to relocate people and to the wall, and then you go there, and then they hit on the walls, and then you go back to the archery stage and try to whittle them down. If they break through the walls, you got to fight. It's glorious. It's basically 7 rounds of Helm's Deep. I'm getting into the review part. Anyway, that's it for the combat section. Okay, with combat done, we can now go into the next phase, which is the flags phase. In this case, if you haven't been sacked, and we haven't been sacked, then whoever has the most gold is going to get the flag for that round. In this case, we have a tie. Everybody gets a flag. You get a flag, and you get a flag. All right, so there's that. That's nice. Woohoo! Then we go into income and turn order. Each player, you gain 8 gold per castle piece. So you can get from 4 to 8 gold. In this case, blue gets 5 because it has 4 pieces, plus it has the turret, and 4. Oh, so blue gets 4. Blue gets 4, red gets 5. There we go. Let's make it smarter. Okay. Set player order based on the gold position. So whoever has the least amount of gold becomes first. That's basically still true. Harvest. This is where your farms come in handy. 1, 2, 3 three feasty foods. Now, how many soldiers do we have to pay for? How many do we have to feed? 6. So we're going to have to take 3 grain from our supply because we have a mighty fortress, a mighty army that we're going to have to feed. Kind of becomes a trade-off of how big you want your standing army to get. And same thing over here. We only have 2. So honestly, like, we have enough already to feed them. So not so bad, not so bad. And then you refresh the board. You advance the seasons. You refresh the cards. You reveal, you put these away and you just kind of tuck them under. That's kind of how I like the approach, so you don't have a bunch of stacks around the board. You just put them face up underneath and call it good. And then you just do it again and again and again. You're going to do it 7 times. And after 7 times, someone's going to have more gold than the others. You're going to reveal your secret objectives and go, hey, do I have the most unique cards with their symbols on it? Then yay, I get 2 extra gold. If not. And you'll get gold for the extra cards here too. You're going to get gold for this. So things are going to add up. It's victory by 1,000 cuts. So that's a basic idea of what you're looking at for a life here and after the Empire. So why don't I get into my thoughts on this curiously addicting game? Okay, final thoughts on After the Empire. Alright, as always, I like to go over the cons first because that helps me out get to the pros. I always like to end on a happy note unless the game is terrifically bad. Anyway, let's start off with the cons. And one of the things I really like is when I see skip the rulebook, scan to watch a quick how to play video. I scanned it and got to the home page and never got to see how to play videos, so might want to get on that one a little bit. The other one is, I gotta say, the box art cover, let me show it to you again, is awesome. It's also now right side up for your convenience. You look at this box, and this is one of the rare non-false advertisings. What you see here is what's going to happen in your game. As a matter of fact, this is the core of the game. You're going to see, you will feel this way playing this game. The name of the game, I honestly think that might have been why I didn't even give it a second's notice on Kickstarter, as I'm going through the many Kickstarters. After the Empire, the name itself did not groove on what you were going to do. In some ways, I wish it was like Zulus on the Ramparts kind of game or some sort of thing. For some reason, maybe some other people got it, but I certainly hope that people don't look at the name and not know what is going on, because it's really about battle conquest and castle defense and stuff, and that was an interesting one. The other thing is the rotating cards weren't my favorite. Again, it's a nitpick, but I took advantage of, I actually already came up with an idea, then watching a video, some other guy did it too, where you just roll a 4-sided die and 1 is north, 2 is whatever. I think they could have put that on the actual game board, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just like grab the cards, and then turn it up and roll the dice and put it there. I didn't need the it's not a gym lock or padlock. I didn't want to do that. So that's it. And the only other thing is, when you have a game with sufficient numbers of substeps, which I think this game does have a sufficient number of substeps, I really like having a kind of a 1-page summary that was a little more verbose than the quick reference card, which kind of tells you the high level stuff, which is fine. But in certain games, especially like I play a lot of GMT games, coin games, and stuff, and it's always nice to have that sort of like anchor sheet, and that I would have appreciated seeing a bit more. That's it for the cons. Let's get to the pros. awesome. Let's talk about that. This board, the game board, the main game board, and your boards are just rich with detail, and they're artistically exquisite. I love the artist. I have every game that artist. I didn't even realize it, but I have every game that artist has done. I'm drawn to this artwork. It's exquisite. I think only Lost Ruins of Arnak has impressed me more in the art department lately. The iconography is clear. It is consistent. It is obvious. That's what I want with the iconography, and because there's not a lot of yeah, no, it's great. It's great. The card artwork is stellar, and it matches the game board, and it's just all good artwork. I think you can guess right now that I like the artwork. The manual is decent. Though for some reason I can't put my finger on why, but it seemed a little abrupt at points as far as describing things. It's almost, I'm not sure. I can't really give it constructive feedback because I don't know why. But I almost felt like all the info needed is there, and the examples were sufficiently meaty. So, yeah. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I love the resource conservation aspect. That is a nice touch. In other words, you get beat up, your walls crumble, but then you have those as resources again. Because otherwise, it takes the drudgerous part and it spares you that. It keeps the focus on what it really does well, which is prep for war, and the aftermath of war. You don't have to spend a bunch of time off distracted by resource and collection gathering. You're doing it strategically rather than sadly. The game components, I mean, what can I say? It's A+. They are visceral. They are substantially satisfying components to put in together. The thick player card boards mean you don't get sliding around on your stuff. It's sort of a pegboard like Era, a game of Era, that had actual pegboards stuff. This has like core anchor holes you put your castles in, the castle walls and the pieces, the détentes for the cubes on the walls, the turrets. It feels like a high-priced toy box as well as a solid game. I'm sad to have missed the Kickstarter, sorry, because that actually had not just cubes, but it had actual little miniatures. I wish that I'd gotten the Kickstarter, not the retail version, because I think that would be even more over-the-top awesome. I'm bummed I missed it, but it's still perfectly fine as it is with the retail version. The refugees and the buildings are a nice touch. They're a nice balance of power and not overpowered. When you get one, it has a substantial impact. It is something good that's not just add +1 core. There's something meaty about these cards. So when you get one, you feel like you got your money's worth. The act of building and reinforcing is just really pure joy. I love that. You're preparing for battle and preparing all your defense. It makes you feel like you're taking a breath, taking a sip of water after the last battle, and then heading back out to the ring ready for the next round. It gives you that great feel. I love the trade-offs and the level curve. Gold is both a winning condition and a resource, so you have to figure out what you have to be mindful of that. You're always going to be going a little bit forward. How far backwards do you want to go to get a near-term bonus, giving up a future possibility of winning a game? Also, the gold is a trigger point for how much you're going to get pummeled. And so you get richer, well great, there are benefits to being richer. But there's also drawbacks in that you're going to get noticed more by the invaders. You want to be just, in the pack just ahead. That's basically it. I'm happy, very happy with the combat. I have grown weary with game after game after game over the years, where combat really is just, you have this great game and then it's reduced to simple dice chucking. And I'm really tickled to see that people in general the last couple of years have been trying to make that portion of a game when it's necessary for the game being much more intelligent, much more meaningful, much more about your choices having tangible impact, where you can go, oh, I did that wrong, not the dice failed me. I do like that. I like that the combat is this layered, phased approach. It's a little tricky to grasp at first if you're like, wait, well, okay, there's move and then there's other move, and stuff. But the thing is, this makes the flow of battle feel real. It makes it feel legitimately real. If you played Age of Empires, if you played like the Total War series on the computer or such, you will gravitate to this style and understand what's trying to go on. You have your massive sieges. They begin. They take forever to do their job, but you need that siege work, the artillery archery, whatever you want to call it. Then you move into this sort of, down, okay, well, we did the damage we could, now bring in the troops, and then you've got the archers on the walls and the archers on the field, and they're going at it for a while. And then you've got your melee, then everyone's like, okay, here they come, they're starting to charge. Then you got to bolster your ranks wherever it seems fit to do so. Then there's the melee, there's the walls, there's the pounding on the walls, and then you just rinse and repeat again until one side stands and one side falls. All of this happens as a result of how you prepared. This is great. I've lost because I chose poorly is way better than I lost because I was blind, but now I see I'm screwed. There's not this random blind preparation. There are games that have been doing that. Days of Iron, Knights of Fire, for example, introduced kind of the concept of imperfect information, not no information. And that is where you have an inkling of, or at least an intelligent guesstimate of what you're going to see, or at least part of what's coming your way, so that you can still prepare for that, but still have that same uncertainty, that nagging feeling of terror and suspense, as you don't know exactly what to prepare for, you don't know how, whatever, but you at least have something you can prepare for. Not this complete exasperation of preparing for an unknown force that is nothing like your defenses can address. And finally, there is a solo mode. I actually grabbed it and messed around with it. It is in beta, and I think the designers didn't want to like tout it as anything other than it's in beta. But from what I've seen so far, it's precisely in the vein of what I would hope for in a solo game. Reminds me of some of David Schertz's style, Automa kind of gameplay things, which I think this game is perfect for that sort of thing. The same way that I think Dune Imperium found a perfect way to set up a solo system, I don't think it's any problem at all for After the Empire to come with a solo variant. So in summary, let's talk about After the Empire. Growing up, when I was a kid, and yes, for those who don't believe me, I can prove I was once a kid, I had a favorite game in the arcades, and that game was Rampart. If anyone's ever remembered it, in Rampart, you build your castle walls while your opponent builds their castle walls, and then you basically just beat the crap out of everyone else's walls, trying to destroy them, and then you just recoup and repeat. Now, this game left no quarter. And by that I mean it left no quarter in my pocket by the time I left the arcade. I loved that game, I played that game, and I have looked for some similar experience since. There have been some that have kind of replicated that. Castle Panic and the variants of those tower defense variants. Stronghold was a very intricate, very much in that line, very detailed. Era, which is a game, like I said, pegboards and you're building a castle and these sort of, but all of these were either too simplistic and symbolic in kind of the attack mode that happened, like attacks happen from the sky based on this chart and stuff, or they were way more detailed than I could possibly get to the table very often. After the Empire slides perfectly between the two extremes and presents one of the best, closest adaptations to a siege battle game in the vein of Rampart that I've yet seen. Part of that, and part of why it's cool, is the smooth intermeshing between preparation, worker placement, etc., and then the combat. The other part of that awesome feeling is the interwoven combat phases. Sieges that destroy, archers that you want them on that wall, you need them on that wall. Melee feels like this skirmish of panic as you're trying to keep invaders out before they complete their sacking. Then there's this lull where you pick up the pieces, literally, and plaster the defenses back in preparation for the next wave. The irony of this is that before this game arrived, because I sort of bought it on a whim based on someone saying, hey, this is cooler than you might think, you should check it out, is that I'd played Castle Panic a couple weeks ago, and still it was like, it's okay, it's whatever, play with the kids. And it had that same wellspring of insufficiency. And then I played a game called Nevsky, which is a war game by GMT, in which you are literally having, with their Levian campaign system, you're mustering troops on a map, marching them to battle, having to feed the forces and travel them on the way, sieging castles, doing field battles, and Castle Assaults, and at a higher level, but similar to After the Empire. So imagine my happiness when After the Empire came and fit right between those lanes as Destiny. Well, okay, close, but anyway, it did fit. It felt like I could play a game of After the Empire as a Castle Siege in a higher level game. Campaign, anyone? Designers? Anyway, in conclusion, After the Empire and Dune Imperium are my surprise hits of the year so far. Easily, easily. The game's smooth transition from worker placement to battle management, its visceral brilliance in letting players build out castles and walls and fixtures and turrets, the tangible ability to intelligently prepare for battle, and then the epic sieges and battles that ensue in near real time, vaguely. All of this makes this unforeseen classic a compliment to any gamer's collection. So I highly recommend it. I want to see more. I want to see after the Empire much of this. So excellent job by these two new designers. And I hope you'll give it a chance, because I certainly am glad I did. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.